Welcome to the Do Life Well podcast. Join your host, Gavin Merwin, and his guests as they explore the nature of doing life well. Now, let's dive in.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Do Life Well podcast, coming to you via Zoom for the first time ever. I'm super excited. It's a little bit different. Today's episode is Make Your Own Luck. So in March, kind of corny, I guess, but St. Patrick's Day, everybody's talking about the luck of the Irish, right? And I believe you can make your own luck. And so I'm really excited to be joined today by my coach, Carla Warlow. And you can take a second and introduce yourself to my listeners.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on, first and foremost.
Sure.
I have had the privilege of coaching you now for well over 5 or 6 years now. But yeah, I'm a Winter Park, Florida based coach. I use a modality called the coactive method. It's a holistic approach, inquiry based. People probably don't know what that means, but I ask a lot of questions that helps my clients just see what they want for their careers, their lives, how they can be better, maximize performance, be fulfilled, whatever it requires to get to that place. And I often lean on my corporate experience that weaves into the conversations quite often as well, and kind of gives me a different perspective as a coach that a lot might not have. But yeah, and so that's what I have the absolute privilege of doing, working with amazing, broad, growth-minded people. It's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's Jess and I were actually talking about it last night, how it's been
Mm-hmm.
5 or 6 years. We were trying to remember how
Yeah.
long we'd been working together, and it's like, I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah.
before Emma Claire, and she'll be
Oh, definitely
5
before
in
Emma Claire.
May. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's been
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, same to you. I appreciate you joining, taking time out of your day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And really, for the listeners today, we've got a few topics to cover. Again, really wanted to take sort of what we talk about in coaching when we meet once a month and sort of bring it to my audience of just different ways you can, apply this to doing life well. Obviously, we cover a lot of different topics, and today we're going to cover some. So let's dive in. I'm calling the
Okay.
episode "Make Your Own Luck," right? And so, what does it mean? I had wrote down, is luck actually real? Is there such thing as bad luck? Or do we create everything in our lives, whether it's positive or negative? And I think it's that. How do people create their own opportunities? And what are some examples of how small daily choices lead to big wins over time? So what comes to mind
Okay.
when you think of that?
Well, I'll start with the premise of whether or not we make our own luck.
Sure.
Of course, there are always circumstances out of our control.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, of course, as you know, I speak often about mindset, and how we choose to see and perceive things. What we perceive as bad luck may not actually be bad luck. It may be a diversion on the path to a goal that ends up exceeding your own expectations if you had a grand plan.
Sure.
And so, but I do think that we are empowered to prepare ourselves and learn our disciplines, our crafts, whatever it is, that make us the best we can possibly be, so that when an opportunity arises, you're ready for it. But that's having preparation and putting in the work to be ready for that next big thing when the opportunity presents itself. And maybe this is something your demographic will kind of get, the Daytona 500 being on Sunday.
Sure.
I think that William Byron, who won, started the last lap in 9th position.
Oh, wow.
And he finished first because there was
Wow.
a big crash at the end. Everybody spun out. And he was last year's winner. He knew how to win a race. He knew what he
Yeah.
was doing. He stayed calm, just let everybody else crash around him, came right through,
Sure.
brought it in, got this, So
Yeah.
he positioned himself. He would have never been the one that everyone was betting on to come to the front of the pack in the last lap, but he positioned himself. He's done this. He's already won the race before. Like, I got an opportunity. I'm going through it. Let's do it. So
Yeah.
there's both. The fact is these cars all crashed in front of him to open up the gap.
Sure.
But,
Sure.
he knew what to do.
Yeah.
So with that metaphor, when the gap opens, have the skill and the ability to come through.
Yeah. And I think instead of sulking on the fact he was in ninth place, he was looking for
Right.
ways to get to the front. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
it's
Yep.
like consequences and sowing and reaping. I was
Mm-hmm.
telling Emma Claire over the
Yeah.
weekend, she got an attitude, and my father-in-law is a farmer. And I said, yeah, if Popsy doesn't plant any seed, he's not getting any crops. And I'm like, if
Mm-hmm.
you're planting good attitude and good behavior, then there's great consequences for that. But if you're bad
Yep.
behavior, then no, you don't get to do this or you don't get to do that. And so I think similar here in the sense that if we go
Mm-hmm.
around kind of with a negative mindset, with I have bad luck, things always happen to me badly, then you kind of attract
Mm-hmm.
that energy, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And
Mm-hmm.
when it's positive, it's the opposite of that, and then the
Mm-hmm.
wreck happens, it opens up, and hey, now my opportunity's here. I'm going to go through it.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
exactly. And the most successful people I know and have coached are the ones that usually have a steadfast belief in their ability to achieve what it is they want in their lives.
sure.
Just knowing that they can. I might
Yeah.
not have the skills yet, but I have the capacity to learn it.
Yeah, for sure.
And really just embodying that and knowing it to your core. I can
Yeah.
do this. And
Yeah.
once you believe that, the rest is just putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
But and having that desire to put in the work, of course, too. You
Yeah.
got
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever it is you want to get good at, you got to put in the work as well.
For sure.
I mean, I remember back years ago, your fitness journey
Yeah.
when just you like figuring out a way to work out and not wanting
Yep.
to and all this other stuff. And now look at you,
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to do it competitively.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, when 5 years ago, if you told me you were going to be a CrossFitter one day, I would have fallen out of my
Yeah.
chair.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
But
journey
again,
for sure.
it's
Life's
a
a
journey,
journey.
right?
Yeah.
But your mindset shifted and you
Sure.
recognized what was possible.
Yeah.
And then you started getting results.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, I am all in.
Yeah. 100%. No, that's a good,
Hmm.
good analogy for
Yeah.
sure. And gives hope to all those
Yeah,
people out
exactly.
there.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I
And
was
I
like that. I
remember
wasn't exercising at all.
you hated running,
Yeah.
hated it. And then,
Yeah.
last fall, you're like, I'm going to do this,
Mountain
23-mile
race.
run?
Yeah.
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 Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly. So, yeah, there's hope for everybody.
That's it.
Yeah.
Talk about energy, like attraction, the positive
Yes.
versus
Okay.
negative.
Yeah.
Kind of hit on
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm a big proponent of mindset, and what you see is kind of what you create. I am probably annoyingly optimistic, but it works for me.
Sure.
But it is true. If if you look for the good, you're going to find the good.
Yeah.
If you look for the bad, you're going to get the bad. That's just what it is. And I had a coach years ago who made me start with doing a gratitude list of 3 things every night that I was grateful for. And it
Sure.
can be as basic as I got a good parking spot at the grocery store today. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to
Sure.
be some, ginormous thing.
Sure.
And so in doing that exercise, which I was skeptical. It creates new neural pathways. I love neuroscience, and the studies are now showing how we can create completely new neural pathways in our brains, new ways of thinking, and new habits.
Sure.
There's so much plasticity. And I created new neural pathways through doing that exercise every single night until now. I look for the good all day long because I know I have to put a gratitude list together tonight before I go to bed.
Sure.
And so my brain actually just sort of always like, oh, that's going to go on my gratitude list.
Yeah.
Yeah. And opportunity too. I just believe opportunity finds me.
Sure.
It does. And I'm open to it, whatever it may be. And I find that having this mindset and having this energy, that we embody it, we walk it, we talk it. It's who we become, and it seems to usually work out.
Yeah. You
But
make
again,
your own
too, if
luck,
you
right?
say I have bad luck,
Yeah.
well, let's explore that. Why do you think you have bad luck? You
Yeah.
know, and what
Sure.
are the circumstances around that? What decisions are you making? What actions are you taking or not taking?
Yeah.
Is it a vehicle for excuses?
Yeah.
and in the work I get to do with clients, I call them out sometimes.
Yeah.
I help people see blind spots.
Sure. Yeah. Which is
You
one of
know,
the great things I've experienced with coaching.
yeah.
You get this sort of third party, unbiased,
Uh-huh.
not personally connected opinion
Right.
to see those blind spots,
Hmm.
which has been great for me.
Hmm. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I think we all need it. Again, I came to coaching
100%.
because I had a coach that transformed my life.
Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
I lived the transformation that it evokes. And then I
Yeah.
was like, I think I'm gonna absolutely change careers and coach. And
Yeah.
at the time, after being a corporate person, that was a radical act.
Sure.
Um, but again, coaching is one thing that taught me that if you want to live your most fulfilled life, it is a radical act of courage. You do
Yeah.
have to believe in yourself and take risks sometimes.
Yeah. 100%.
Hmm.
Talk about abundance versus scarcity and what that means. And we've
Oh
hit on
boy.
that some on this podcast before for
Hmm.
anybody that's heard that. But like again, at the core level, what does it mean to have an abundance versus scarcity mindset? And then maybe
Hmm.
like some practical examples of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. And this one is, it sounds kind of woo woo even, but it's also something that you attract
Yep.
by with your mindset. Just abundance mindset means that there's enough. There's enough business out there amongst all the coaches. I don't have to be hyper competitive. I earn enough money. I've always had food on the table. I've always had a roof over my head. I've been blessed to be born in this amazing country,
Yeah.
that we live in abundance, here, especially compared to a lot of other countries,
Yeah.
So even knowing that I was born in the United States, I feel like I was born with abundance in some
Sure.
capacity compared
Sure.
to other indigenous countries.
Yeah.
So even recognizing it from that lens, but just knowing that there's enough, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. Knowing that what we have is a blessing and never taking it for granted. And
Yeah.
having that gratitude wrapped in with the abundance is part of the equation. Because
Sure.
if you don't appreciate it, then your mindset isn't fully wrapped around it. As opposed
Yeah,
to
and it's kind of
scarcity,
like
yeah.
what you honor comes towards you, what you dishonor kind of moves away
Hmm.
from you. And then you can replace
Exactly.
honor with appreciation. When you appreciate it,
Hmm.
you kind of attract it. When you don't appreciate it,
Right.
it kind of pushes away. And
Hmm.
that's even true with people. I mean, I've seen that in my life and even mine
Oh
and
yeah,
other people's lives. I'm more inclined to be generous to those that I know appreciate it. And I'm more inclined to be
absolutely.
come be a part of this to those that
Hmm.
appreciate it. And the same things happen
Right.
with me, when you have that attitude. And that's kind of what we're talking about. That's how you can attract
Hmm.
these kind of things in your life by having
Hmm.
these sort of attitudes and truly
Right.
making your own luck and looking at it for an abundance. And you say, there's enough. We always say around the office, like, we're not worried about the cut of the pie. We just make more pies.
Hmm.
We're just in the pie
Right.
making business. That's abundance,
Hmm.
right? So it's like, I'm not worried
Hmm.
about taking this one pie and splitting it up more. We're just going to go make
Hmm.
more pies.
I
And
love it.
so
Yep.
when we have a setback or something, even with a client, we're just like, all right, we got to go make more pies. Like we got
There
to
you
go get,
go.
versus it being a scarcity mindset of, hey,
Hmm.
we're not going to make it. This one thing's going to take us
Hmm.
out, that kind of thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. And a scarcity mindset too is, I think, really, really powerful,
Yeah.
because it too can become a perspective that becomes a reality by the thoughts that then create the emotions, which create the actions. And that is that there's never enough.
Yeah.
And it certainly is the case with people and money. And granted, there's a whole school of thought around the psychology of money, people's relationships with money. But if you believe, like, if you're always hanging on to that scrap of whatever money you have, and there's
Sure.
never enough, and there's never enough, never enough, there's not going to be enough,
Yeah.
because you're not opening yourself up or creating opportunities to go and create more.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to be thinking about, how do I take what little money I have and turn it into compound interest?
Yeah.
They're not, those conversations would never happen. You can earn compound interest that turns a small amount of money into millions over a period of time.
Yeah. Sure.
And you have the finance people on your end, but
Yeah.
and I'm not an investment person by any means, but I just know, if you're thinking about, how can I take what I have and make more?
Yeah. Well, and it's an exponential mindset too. Like
Right.
we were talking recently about Terry wouldn't let me think about it. He asked me a question. And he's like, "You can't think. You just have to answer the first thing that comes to your mind." And he had
Hmm.
seen it online, and it was, "Do you want me to give you $1 million today, or do you want a penny today that doubles every day for 30 days?" And I'm like, "Oh, I mean,
Yep.
I want $1 million a day. I mean, you won't let me think
Hmm.
about it, so I can't do the math. So I'm just going to say $1 million a day." Well, it's like the penny doubling every day. We ended up being like $5 or $6 million at the end of 30
Yep.
days. Like just this crazy
Hmm.
number, and it's just
Yeah.
exponential. We live kind of in this exponential world, but our minds can be very linear. And so I think
Yes.
that abundance mindset is like, hey, I'm going to break out of that. The way we kind of come hardwired to
Hmm.
have a scarce mindset, because 1,000 years ago it was, I'm running from the
Hmm.
lion in the bush, and it's
Right.
fight or flight, and it was scarce. And so a lot of these things are just kind of hardwired. And I think if we're not
Hmm.
really intentional to choose the abundance, and two, and you obviously you could speak to this, like I know personally I've never arrived. So it's like I have
Hmm.
more of an abundance mindset today than I think I
Hmm.
did a month ago, 6 months ago, 6 years ago.
Hmm.
I don't know that you ever arrive. And maybe you do. Maybe there's
Hmm.
some place you can get
Hmm.
there where you're 100% abundance and absolutely no
Yeah.
scarcity.
Yeah.
But I can tell you
Well,
for me, it's been a journey.
yeah. Yeah. Yes, it has. But I will say, the progress has been just so huge over the years.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah, but touching on the scarcity for one thing, one metaphor that people might really get is one of the reasons diets don't succeed is because it puts people in a food scarcity mindset.
Sure.
I'm never going to have another donut. I'm never going to have another hamburger. These things are forbidden. I can't have is all you think
Yeah.
about,
Yep.
as opposed to, oh, I get to eat this healthy food.
Yeah.
And so from that lens of I'm never going to have these things again, makes them freak out and binge,
Yep.
as opposed
100%.
to that pizza's going to be there next week
Yeah.
if I still want it then, but I
Yep.
probably won't because I've realized that I don't feel good when I eat that many carbs. So
Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, I just kind of want to give an example too of how scarcity mode kind of portrays itself in like normal challenges that people have.
100%. Um, Talk about the just let them theory that you taught me recently.
Okay. I wish I came up with this. It wasn't me. It was Mel Robbins, who's a very well known author and thought leader, and she's written a book about it, podcasted about it, and it's pretty revelatory, but it's also pretty basic.
Yeah.
This philosophy of just let them,
Yep.
which is for those of us that have a controlling nature, some more than others, but as humans, we're kind of hardwired to want to control outcomes
Sure.
and have people do certain things that we feel like we know is best. And in business and personal lives and relationships, familial relationships, whatever, the community, we tend to want things to be a certain way and we want
Sure.
people to do certain things. And just recognizing that we really have such little control over what other people do and how much it impacts our lives and creates anxiety and frustration and all these negative feelings because people aren't doing what you want.
Yep.
So the philosophy is just let them do what they want. Let your friend date the loser. She'll break up with him eventually,
Yeah.
or whatever it might be,
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
just leave people to make their own choices sometimes and quit trying to force your will on others.
Yeah.
And don't run the risk of jeopardizing relationships, partnerships, and things like that by trying to impose your will all the time. And how this almost like is a way to free yourself from rowing against the current. Just
Yes.
go with the current.
Yeah.
And how liberating that is, recognizing what you just can't control and that we're powerless over people, places, and things. But people and their actions are the things we do try to control the most, I think. And I think it's the most detrimental.
Yeah.
It's looking at it. Now, of course, there are exceptions to that.
Yeah.
If you're interviewing for a job, as she says, you're not going to just take the salary that they offer.
Sure.
You're going to
Sure.
negotiate. If there's
Sure.
anything that is a threat to your well-being, you don't
Yeah.
tolerate that.
Yeah. Your kids.
Um,
You can't just
your
let them.
kids. Oh no, you
You
definitely don't
can't
want to
just
just
let
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 them.
them do what you want. Yeah, there has to be some behavioral
Exactly.
control for a 4 year
Right,
old.
right. Yes. So it can be situational, but for, our peers, our colleagues, our friends, just taking your hands off the steering wheel and
Yeah.
blessing whatever decisions people need to make for themselves and letting them come to their own conclusions and their own outcomes, and being there if things go south, you can be there to let them and support them and meet
Yeah.
them in a non-judgmental place.
Yeah, and I like the example she gave in that podcast that you sent me that I listened to about her son's high school prom. And it
Yeah.
was like they're at the house, they're taking pictures, and they start talking about dinner and it's flooding. And they're like, hey, we're gonna go to this taco place or something like that. And she's like, you don't have dinner reservations? Let me start calling. I need to get you dinner reservations. You can't go to the taco place, it won't hold all of you people. And then the girls are gonna get wet and yada yada yada. And she said her daughter was like, Mom, just let them. And she was like,
Mm-hmm.
does it really matter where they go eat? And does it really matter
Mm-hmm.
that they don't have reservations? Like, it's causing me more anxiety trying to
Mm-hmm.
control the situation than they even care about to begin with. So just let them. Like, and so that was a great
Right.
example to me, or it's
It
just
really
like
was.
that's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
stuff she means when
Yeah.
she's like, it's just really not that important. Like, just let
Yeah.
it roll. Just go
Yeah.
with the flow. If it does matter, then obviously don't just let them,
Right.
and there are
Exactly.
situations and times where it does. Like, hey, this is
Mm-hmm.
something I need
Sure.
to stand up
Mm-hmm.
for, and it
Right.
does matter. But then there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times where it's
But
like just trivial stuff. It's just like it just doesn't
yeah.
matter. So just let them.
Yeah.
It frees
Yeah.
yourself
Like,
mentally from it.
exactly. Are they going to be reflecting on this from their deathbed?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
think that whether or not anybody ate tacos prom night in the rain is going
Yeah.
to be so consequential that, it's not actually a humorous memory at best.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. That's
Because
it.
that's you and your buddies are going to be laughing about that. Remember that time,
Yeah. Yeah.
or it can just be a wonderful learning opportunity.
Yeah.
We're preventing people from perhaps learning some really good life lessons
Sure.
by trying to do things for them as well, or again, control what they do.
Yeah. And you could kind of like almost put a cap on spontaneous moments that way too, you know?
Oh yeah,
So just
definitely.
like,
Yeah.
just going with the flow. And then like you ended up like, oh,
Yeah.
it didn't go exactly the way I thought it was going to, but
Mm-hmm.
glad it didn't.
Yeah.
Like it ended up being
Right.
better because
Mm-hmm.
I just let them,
Yeah.
And I gave
Just
the
let them.
example too, even when we were talking about this with a person and I was like trying to get in touch with them on the phone and like they weren't answering. And then like come to find out they were just having a tough time. And it's like,
Yeah.
it wasn't about me. It wasn't
No.
personal. They weren't ignoring me. It was them. Like they just needed space for
Mm-hmm.
their own self. They didn't have capacity
Right.
to talk. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this then. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But
Right.
now I'm just
Yeah.
like, yeah, just let
Mm-hmm.
them. Whatever. It's all
Yeah.
good. Like don't take
Right.
it personal.
Yeah.
They love me. It's all
Right.
good. Just let them.
Yeah.
Whatever. You
Exactly.
know?
So, how do you feel like this let them philosophy has impacted you as a leader? I'm sorry, no, you're supposed to be asking me the questions probably, but out of curiosity, because I
Yeah.
think people would want to know, like, you
Yeah.
know,
I think it matters from the perspective of like the stuff that doesn't matter, just let it not matter,
hmm
and not
yeah,
having to have you necessarily control over every aspect of everything, letting
hmm
people put their imprint and impact on stuff, maybe in a
yeah,
different flavor than what you have, but the end result's
right,
good. And so it's like, yeah, just let them. And then if it's
hmm
a consequential or again, a value of our organization, then no, I'm not just going to let you, this is something
right,
like, again, kind of with parenting where it's like,
yeah,
hey, this is how we operate organizationally.
hmm
We're not, this is a line here. We're not going to
yeah,
cross. But within
right,
these other little things, hey,
yeah,
be yourself and just let them. And
hmm
I'm learning it.
hmm
It's new. It's a new
yeah,
theory of mine, but it
yep,
can be freeing mentally to
hmm
just take a
yeah,
step back and not have to control everything for sure.
hmm right, yeah, and the phrase that I think I had mentioned to you that she had said in the podcast that I found really profound was that uh, control is actually a form of anxiety,
Yeah,
because uh, that's a correlation I never made, and
sure.
but it's absolutely true,
Yeah,
because you're trying to create all these outcomes that really don't have anything to do with you for the most part, and you're
yeah,
getting all spun out about it,
sure.
and none of us have an excess of energy to be spending on things that aren't meaningful in your life.
That's right.
you
Yeah, yeah.
know
We're all trying to be more efficient, carve off the
right,
stuff that
yeah,
doesn't matter
energy
so that you have,
management, we talk about that a
yes.
lot.
Yeah, for sure.
hmm Yeah.
On the topic of creating energy, talk about confidence. So I just put
Okay.
down, we want to show up like someone who wins when we're talking about
Hmm.
creating our own luck.
Yep.
Explain the difference between arrogance and confidence.
Okay.
Why confident people attract opportunities, kind of like we were talking
Hmm.
about, and then just some
Yeah.
strategies to build that confidence.
Okay. Yeah. I love all of this because I a lot of high achieving executives that I work with, or just people that are on an upward trajectory, getting to a new role or new position, they're like, I've got imposter syndrome. I'm not ready for this. They're going to find me out,
Sure,
which is again, if you act that way, you're going to get that.
sure,
And so it's a mindset that isn't helpful. Recognizing that usually, if you get put in a role, there's a reason you're supposed to be in that role. No,
sure,
you got promoted for a reason.
sure,
You should be there, but it's
sure,
that questioning. But confidence is interesting because if you compare it, as you were saying, to arrogance, they are actually quite different. Um,
sure.
at least the way I look at them is arrogance is kind of like, I'm the smartest person in the room. I've got all the answers. This is how it should be. And feeling like you're on that pedestal,
Yeah,
as opposed to true confidence. You're not the smartest person in the room. And if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
yeah, that's right. That's
Because you
exactly
need to
right.
be around people that are going to make you better and challenge you.
Yes.
Um, Confidence is the ability to ask questions, the ability to say, I don't know, but I'd
Hmm.
like to learn about that. I'd
Sure.
like to know that, and knowing that you have the capacity to go find out.
Yep.
Um, you know, I, so those are some actions, but also confidence is also something that you embody.
Yeah.
I think that your posture, how you walk into a room, making eye contact, how you shake someone's hand, all of those things are an outward expression of a confident person. And
Yep.
if you walk into a room and you're timid and you're hungover, and you kind of hunch over and you're like, yeah, you got a weak handshake, and
Yeah.
you don't speak up, you don't articulate, people don't hear your voice. Are you the person they're going to want to hire?
Yeah.
Probably not.
That's right.
They want the person who's going to be able to talk to clients, who's going to be able to, enforce policies and procedures.
Yep.
And again, those are things we can completely control. Is just recognizing our posture, our tone of voice, our eye contact, little things like that.
Yeah.
Project confidence. And
Yep.
again, those are the things that will then bring you opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think it's
Again, so
like,
it's,
the attraction piece 100%,
yeah.
because it's like,
Hmm.
if you're in a room of conversation and you're naturally attracted to the positive people in the room, those
Hmm.
that, again, they're not like beating their chest. That's not what we're talking
Right.
about, but they're comfortable in their own
Exactly.
skin, I guess is a better way to
Right.
put it.
Yeah.
It's just,
Hmm.
hey, I'm here, I'm comfortable, I don't have anything to
Hmm.
prove, and it's
Hmm.
funny, like
Yep.
you and I both have talked about like being on not-for-profit boards before.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
like we both have done that. It's like,
Hmm.
you have some people that join because they need that um,
Hmm.
beating of the chest, if you will. And then you have others that are
Yes.
there just to do the work. And it's like you
Yeah.
can very quickly generally feel, hey, you're talking a lot about yourself, a lot
Hmm.
about what all you
Hmm.
got going on, how busy you are. And we're all like, hey, we all got a lot going on. Let's not talk
Yeah.
about how busy we are, like let's
Yeah.
just be comfortable
Right.
in our own
Yeah.
skin
Yeah.
and do what we're here to do.
Yeah. How badly do you want the name on the building?
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
really want your name on the building
Yeah.
based on your gift to this organization, you know, I'd be a little suspect,
Yes.
on whether
Yes.
are you here to do the work? Or are you here to, make
Yeah.
yourself look good? Right.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
And
think I
yeah.
think
And
too. You go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. No, you
Oh,
go ahead.
I was going to say, and choosing boards actually, when with community service,
Mm,
is not only is it something that you align with the mission, and it's something that's in alignment with your values and your
sure.
purpose and making a meaningful contribution, but also knowing what's called quote unquote a working board,
Yeah.
knowing that you're going to serve on a committee, you're going to be actually doing the work.
Yeah.
You have to show up to board meetings. There's an attendance requirement. There's a
That's
fiduciary
right.
commitment. Those are the organizations I want to be a part of, as
Sure.
opposed to You can show up when you
Something for the
want.
resume. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Because there are many of those too.
Yeah, for
And if
sure.
you're in it for the resume, that's fine too. Sometimes if you're building your career and you really don't have the resources to put into it,
Sure.
be on the periphery until you can be fully in. Yeah.
Sure.
But
I think the other
again,
thing too
finding it
with
out. Yeah.
confidence is it's like I've been here before. And
Yeah.
like having that attitude also, where it's like
Hmm.
an element of confidence is it's like,
Hmm.
hey, I've been up to bat before in the bottom of the
Right.
ninth,
Hmm.
3-2 count. I know how to hit a grand slam, or I know how to poke one into right field because we just need one
Right.
run or whatever. And so
Yeah.
the more you have experiences like that, then it builds your confidence to say, like,
Hmm.
a tough situation comes along. Hey, this is uncomfortable, but it's all good. I've been here before. And so there's a level
Right.
of familiarity to that, to where it's like, hey, I have the confidence. I know how to handle this. I've been here before.
Yep.
And so there's
Yep.
that element of it too that I like to
Hmm.
reflect on when situations arise. Like, hey, don't panic, don't freak out. You've been here before.
Right.
Like the guy in ninth
Hmm.
place at the Daytona 500,
Yep.
he'd been there
Right.
before. Like, hey, I'm not freaked
Yeah.
out. Great. Here's my opportunity. I'm going to go drive the
Hmm.
race car.
Hmm. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, my clients often ask me, how do I build my confidence? And first and foremost, it's doing the reps.
Yeah.
The more you do something, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, then the more confident you become. It's almost kind of like, building up an account in a bank. Every
Yeah.
time you do something well at this thing you want to become more confident at, you're putting a deposit in the confidence bank. And
Yeah.
you keep putting deposits in each time you do that thing well. And then it's
Yeah.
going to grow and grow and grow.
And I
And
think you might even put deposits in when you do it badly.
right,
You know what I
exactly. Because
mean?
you, you
Even
you
when you
learn from
fail
that
at
as
it,
well.
you learn from that. You still are putting deposits
Hmm.
in. So it's just do the reps, whether they're good or
Yes.
bad.
Good or
You're
bad. Yeah.
you're you're building in your confidence.
Right. Exactly. Because yeah, especially when you're trying something new,
Yeah,
you're gonna have missteps. That's
yeah,
where resilience comes in. You
for
know,
sure.
if you're doing it right 100% of the time and this is new to you, it's too easy for you.
Yeah,
You're not aiming high enough. You
that's
need you
right.
need something that's really going to challenge you. And
Yeah,
those are the things that are also the most rewarding, or the ones you have to
yeah,
work the hardest at.
yeah,
I think Aristotle or one like, it's actually the journey that is more gratifying than the goal itself.
yeah,
Is the effort you put in there is what brings meaning to it. Because
yeah,
if it were easy, it isn't meaningful,
yeah. What's the
or wouldn't
point?
be meaningful. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So the errors and the missteps are equally beneficial, if not more so. You just don't want to keep making the same mistakes, though.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Learn from it and hopefully don't do it twice.
Yes. No, that's what I told you I was doing master class, and
Uh huh. Yeah.
Dr. Tyson, he was talking about
Hmm.
the frontier, and I know we've talked about all this, but my listeners hadn't heard it. But the frontier, and he's like, if you're not making mistakes, you're not failing, you can pretty much guarantee you're no longer on the frontier. Because if you think about it, like whether it's space, which is what he was talking about, or like the context of going to the Wild West or whatever, and that's uncharted
Hmm.
territory. I mean, you're having to,
Yeah.
blaze trail, and so you make mistakes. And it's like I told my team here, I was like, hey, I told him that quote, and I'm like, I'm great with that. We're on the frontier. We're on the cutting edge. We're doing things that people
Hmm.
have not done before, which is fun and exciting and all that. Hey, if it's a procedure we've had in place for 2 or 3 years, probably don't need to be making a lot of mistakes on that one.
Right.
But if it's brand new, hey, we're cool. Like we're
Hmm.
okay. It's an
Hmm.
experiment. So let's just
Yeah.
be okay with that and be fine with failures. And you're still getting reps. You're still building
Hmm.
confidence. You've been here before. It's a new process. And that again, going back to making your own luck, that's how you attract those
Hmm.
opportunities. Because when you're
Right.
willing to take risks, you're willing to push the
Hmm.
chips in, get a little bit out
Hmm.
over your skis, not to the point of, your detriment, right? But to
Right.
the point where you're like, hey, I'm stretching myself here. I've never been here before. This is a new process. I'm making, promises to clients that I have to fulfill, and it's brand new, thought processes, right? It can be
Hmm.
daunting, but doing that, you lend yourself to potentially failing, but you
Right.
also are going to succeed too in some of the
Right.
times,
Hmm.
versus sitting back in the safety of the familiar and the comfortable and never
Right.
taking risks, and so you don't attract that good luck and those opportunities.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. 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 It's so true. Um, that it's just kind of, again, more of that making your own luck and putting out there, and the risk aversion.
yeah,
um am I too averse to take a risk
yeah,
and risk looking bad, or quote unquote failing? you know the consequence of that is probably worse, because then you're going to live with regret.
yeah.
and are you really concerned with what other people think?
Yeah.
Because that's their issue, not yours.
Yeah. Just let them.
Let them. Exactly. Let them think
let
whatever
them
they
think what
want.
they want. Yeah.
Let them think what they want. If they think
Yeah.
you're silly for starting this business, for trying this new sport, that's on them.
Yeah.
That's not for you to own. Stay on your side of the street and you do what's meaningful to you. And those just might not be your people,
Yeah.
because your people will get behind you. They
Yeah.
will support you because they want you to thrive and succeed. And that's how you know it's your people, and that's how you know you're on the right path.
Yeah.
But
Which is
and those are the people that make the risk a little easier too, because I believe in you.
yeah. Yeah.
And that builds confidence as well.
100%, which is a perfect segue
Mm-hmm.
into the next one, which is
Yep.
the myth of being self-made. So you hear
Yeah.
that phrase, I'm a self-made
Mm-hmm.
man or I'm a self-made woman, and I just want to gag every time I hear it because I'm
Yeah.
like, it's
Yeah.
just not true, I don't think. And it's to the
No, it's
point of what you
gibberish.
just
Yeah.
of what you just said. So talk
Mm-hmm.
about why no one is truly self-made,
Yeah.
the power of community coaching and mentorship, and then how to surround yourself with people who elevate you.
Right. Yeah. It's so important. Being self-made, that's just a myth.
Yeah.
You know, I
It's
remember
kind of
I
arrogant
read
too.
once
When we
that
talk about
it is.
confidence
Yeah.
versus arrogance,
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
Right.
I did this
Right.
all by myself. No one helped me,
Uh-huh.
not one person.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I mean, at a minimum, a
Exactly.
customer had to believe in you to buy your product.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, you're
yeah.
not self-made.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No. None of us is an island. None of us achieves anything on our own.
that's right.
And it is a myth. And if anybody thinks that they're truly like, oh, this is just all me, then again, I think it does go into arrogance.
Yeah,
We're recognizing that, sure, we can have a vision. We can be the primary person putting this plan into action. But again, you have to have support from people all around you who
yeah,
believe in your product and buy it. Perfect example, that you're not doing that on your own. But it's
yeah,
even, the people that taught you how to do these things,
yeah,
whether it's your teachers, again, having mentors, people that share their professional experience doing things that help educate you to do it even better,
yeah,
sharing their mistakes. Okay, well, Bob did it this way and he said that wasn't a good call, so I'm going to go this way.
sure.
Uh, you know, because then I don't have to spend all the time doing that. Those are the people that help you, and you're not doing that alone.
Yeah,
And then you usually have to have a team around you. If it's a business, you have your staff and your support team. Granted they're paid, but still you have to align
sure,
yourself with these people.
sure.
And then again, but having friends and family and people in your orbit that believe in you and fully wholeheartedly know that like this is something that we want for you as much as you want it for you,
Yeah,
cannot be taken for granted, you know.
yeah.
Um, I
And then the
mean, even
responsibility
just
of us to do that for others
mhm. Yes. Oh,
too.
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
reciprocate.
Yep. Yep. Oh, yeah. And that's actually the most gratifying part is being
Yeah,
able to help other people.
yeah,
I work with emerging coaches sometimes I've got two people that are getting their coaching certification who have reached out to me, and I'm like sending them business and giving them resources and encouraging them. And I get more from that than probably they do because it feels good to
sure.
give back,
Yeah,
and know that like, oh my gosh, they're on the precipice of an amazing career.
yeah,
And yeah, again, it's a gift to us as much as it is to anyone else.
yeah. Yeah. And you said it earlier, like if you're the smartest in the room, get you a new room. I mean, that
Hmm.
speaks to
Yeah.
that too, in the sense of like the
Yeah.
community you're in, it matters, and those
Yeah.
around you.
Yeah.
Having people that stretch you and challenge your thought
Right.
processes, and you do the same for
Hmm.
them. Like I said, like it goes both
Hmm.
ways. I think it's important.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But and one thing though that in terms of the dynamic with a coach, it's like I really challenge you more
Yeah,
so than I think a friend would. You
sure.
know, we take a deeper dive and ask some hard questions sometimes,
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
to find those truths that need to be explored. But
Yeah,
again, that's part of not doing it alone either, is having somebody who is in it with you, holding you accountable, knowing that there's an outcome and just takes one step after the next to get there.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So kind of wrapping up, obviously, if
Okay.
you have anything else you brought or want to share, you certainly can. There's no time constraint
Mm-hmm.
here.
Okay.
But kind of at the end, I just said, how do we start making our own luck? So
Yeah.
think about or give us, 3, 5, 1, whatever. But what are just some
Mm-hmm.
coaching takeaways where a listener can say, okay, I'm going to turn this mindset. I need some practicals. This is new to
Right.
me. This is new thought
Mm-hmm.
processes. I've learned a lot.
Right.
What are some things that I can practically start doing
Yeah.
every day?
Okay. First, it's really getting clear about what it is you want. What is it that you want to create in your life and your career? And really having that aligned with your values, with your purpose, who you are as a person. Having a intrinsically motivated goal or something you want to bring into your life is just half the battle right there. What is it that I want to achieve? Once you figure out, like, this is what I really want, it's not looking at, oh my gosh, I have to do all of these things to get there. It can just be one small action towards that, because things are achieved not through a monumental single time effort. It's just consistency and repetition and a series of small things. I love the whole philosophy of 1% improvement. If you improve at something 1% every day, in 12 months, you will have 365% improvement.
Yeah.
So just recognize, what is one action I can take this week to get me closer to that?
Yeah.
And then what's the next action? And not looking at this monumental, oh, I have to do all these things, but I'm just going to do these little baby steps.
Yeah.
And recognizing, okay, once we start doing some of the baby steps, it feels good. Law of physics, an object in motion stays in motion. Things start to get easier because you're making progress and you start liking that feeling.
Sure.
And it's like the kids on social media having the streaks, like, I'm on a streak. I want to keep it going. I got to do it again.
Sure. That's right.
And so then it starts to become gratifying because you're starting to make some progress.
Yeah.
But it also, some of the other things we talked about too, is just believing in yourself, knowing that you can achieve this. You have what it takes. And you just need to have the right mindset, have the willingness to do the work, getting help when you really need, use your network. Your network is your net worth, I've heard it said.
Sure.
And that's what makes it possible. If you don't know how to do something, there's somebody out there that's probably willing to teach you.
Yeah.
Just don't be afraid to ask. That's where the humility comes in, and that's where the confidence is. It's just being confident that I'm open to learning and I'm open to this journey and I'm willing to put in the incremental steps to get there.
Yeah.
And there's one other thing I'll throw in too, is resilience, because you won't get it right all the time, but it doesn't mean you quit. That just means you learn from it, you regroup, and you continue.
Yeah.
And just
the
being
Teddy
cool
Roosevelt
with that too.
quote of the man in the ring is the one that is the winner. Just being in the ring. If you've never heard that,
just
look up
being in the
that
ring.
Quote. The Teddy Roosevelt quote about being in the ring.
Right.
And then two, I've read or heard recently, it takes a train like, 5,000 horsepower or something crazy to get moving. But once it's moving, it's literally like 30 horsepower to keep it going down the tracks at 120 miles an hour. To your point of just like the hardest thing is just to start. But once you start, the momentum kind of gets you going. And then you have setbacks, but then you're resilient, which is what you're talking about. And you just keep up the positive attitude and looking for opportunities, and then you attract it. And then, you meet somebody that connects you with somebody else, and then you're learning, and it's just a snowball effect. But bad luck doesn't exist. You can do the same actions in the opposite direction and attract negative things to your life. And so you make your own luck, which is the point of the whole conversation, I think.
Right. Yeah. And I have found in my own life and in my own experiences that when you're putting in the work and you're committed to something, just wait for the miracle, because things will, if this is meant to be, things will start coming. Circumstances that you couldn't even create will actually start to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
I know it's happened to you too. You're like, oh my gosh, this is a perfect situation that I couldn't even plan.
That's right.
those things will actually start to happen. And that's kind of how you also know, like, this is, I'm on the right track.
Exactly.
This is what I'm meant for. And
100%.
that really is a confidence boost that keeps you propelled in that direction as well. Along the setbacks, there's the green lights, as Matthew McConaughey says in his book, green light, go.
That's exactly right.
Just keep moving forward,
and sometimes
you'll get the little green lights.
To that book's point, red lights, what you think are red lights are actually green lights, and vice versa. And so he goes into that too. Same thing about, hey, just rolling with the punches, because what you think is a door shut may actually be a door opening in another direction. So
exactly. Right. But you got to stay in the fight. The path to achievement is not a linear path. There will be twists and turns.
Yeah.
And you just have to be open and consistent and roll with the twists and turns, knowing that, there's a lot of different ways to get to Atlanta.
Yeah.
I can go I-95, I can go I-70, I'll still get there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. For sure.
And just knowing that I will get there and I can get there.
Yeah.
Then you will make your own luck in that way.
100%.
So, yeah. So I think that's really the biggest takeaways I would have. Is that, just your mindset is everything.
Yeah, 100%. This has been fun. Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah.
My pleasure. No, thank you for having me.
If anybody's interested in contacting you, how could they do that as far as coaching?
So you can reach me through my website. It's carlawarlow.com. WARLOW is how you spell my last name. And my website, it's pretty comprehensive, tells you anything you need to know.
Yeah, that's awesome. I recommend you guys check out other things that Carla puts out there. And I've been fortunate to work with you, like you said, 5-6 years now. Kind of in crazy circumstances how we met, and I'm fortunate that we did. But thank you so much for coming on.
It's mutual. It's a privilege.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And sharing.
No, thanks for having me.
For sure. Well, hey guys, you all take care and keep doing life well. And we'll talk again next month.
Thank you for joining us on the Do Life Well podcast, where we explore topics like fatherhood, business, health, wellness, and so much more. With each episode, we aim to inspire and guide you in embracing the art of doing life well. If you found value in today's conversation, please leave us a review, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time, continue the journey of doing life well.